So I went to go relook at my response that I got from the survey to pick a time and everything, and I picked 2 times for next week.
Oh,
I
okay.
I thought that I was gonna have a basketball game tonight, but it was canceled due to the weather, which is why I didn't choose it. But it looks like I chose 3 times instead of 2. So I don't know if I accidentally clicked it. So I don't have like a presentation set
Okay.
up.
Yeah. Yeah, the way James did it was he took your two and made it into one. I mean, he picked the one that seemed to be open, and he probably picked this one because wasn't anyone else today, so we figured we'd get in a couple people to keep this moving because we have 20 students to get through. But do you have I might have it. If you had, do you feel comfortable doing it? You're going to be okay, or
Um,
you want to wait?
I feel like I don't have enough. I have a basic idea and things to go on, but I don't think it's in. I don't know if it's enough to go into a complete discussion.
I mean, to some extent, these sessions are just that. They're just to talk about it and see where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could actually help you, to be early on so that you have more, you're sort of open to that, to ideas. I'm just see if I can open or if you can open your 1 to 2 pager, if you've got that right there. Otherwise, I could probably find it pretty quickly. Because I just have to go to Shannon. Oh, there you are. Okay. Do you have it, or you want me
Oh,
to?
there we go. I couldn't find how to get back to my screen. Give me 1 second.
I see it. I've got it here if you want, but either way.
I can pull it up. There it is. Okay, so
Use of mobile technology. Okay.
all right. Can we see my screen?
No, you can make it a little larger. Or
Yep.
uh, good. Yeah, a couple more. Okay.
Okay. So my basic idea for my topic is how mobile technology has benefited educational teaching methods. I kind of really got into it because I was a substitute teacher in high school, middle school, elementary school for previous summers at home. And I also taught summer school. And there's a difference even between the 2-3 years that I did it with the use of technology and different apps and things like that they were giving to for kids to use, even at a young age. They would use smart boards for more of the younger generation, and then as you get older, they have laptops and tablets and things like that. So I really wanted to kind of go in on that. How have educational teaching methods benefited from the implementation of mobile technology? So basically, what I want to do is I want to research how it's happened, but I was thinking about creating an app as an example as to how it could potentially be applied. A quiz app that you can create quizzes for students, more for the age range of grades 4 through 12. And the idea behind that is you're going to find a lot of kids these days who have access to their own cell phones, or they have access to these tablets, but more at an older age range, starting at age 11 to 18. There are not a lot of apps, but some apps and websites that are able to do this, but they're geared more just towards older students or even college students. For example, I just wrote one down. For example, ProProfs, it's a quiz maker, and it's available on the App Store. But it just seems it's geared more when I was reading about it online, it seemed like it was geared more towards an older kind of audience. And then when I clicked on the app in the App Store, you could just kind of see in there was quizzes for more of a generic purpose, or an entertainment purpose of, what kind of animal are you most related to? Take the quiz now, or we can guess your age based off of a certain book knowledge, things like that. It wasn't really of an educational purpose. Another one was Testmaz. It was close to being the idea, but it wasn't available on an app store. And thatquiz.org was just an app site. It was just a website, but there's nothing that's really appealing to what would be like a younger kind of audience. So for example, if you're in 5th grade and you just read a book, let's go a little bit older. Let's say it's 7th grade and you just read The Outsiders, and your teacher wants to make a quiz about that book. You open up the app as the instructor, you log in, you create this app, and then you can share it with your students. Once your students have it in their possession, they can start the app. And a lot of teachers and a lot of educators are weary with using technology in a school basis because of cheating. But what this app will allow you to do is, if you close out of the app, the instructor would get a notification that so-and-so has left the quiz before finishing. So that without creating an entire rustle that's going to interrupt the entire session, the instructor is able to get up and is able to go over to see. And sometimes it is an accident. With technology, you never know what's going to happen. A phone could die. A computer shuts down. If you accidentally exit by mistake, like, things happen, but you can come over and you're able to check easily if people are cheating. And then once you're done, depending on the instructor's kind of idea behind it, you can make it so once the quiz is done, it's in, you get your results and here's your grade. Or you can make it kind of prolonged, where the teacher can actually go through and evaluate the students individually and then give them their grade on that. Especially if it's an English class and you have an essay question. There are a lot of kids now, a lot of teachers don't use the pen paper method. You don't teach writing anymore in higher education levels, writing as in teaching how to write. There's a lot of text involved and a lot of, typing on a keyboard and texting on your phone. So you're able just to do that right through the device as well. So going through this, the research questions are, what are the main benefits technology has had in education? That's what I want to kind of explore. What are the various teaching methods, and what are any other types of technology? So a lot of people, at least in my case, when I first started thinking about it, mobile technology, mobile phone, really that's all I was thinking of. But, a phone is mobile, a tablet is mobile, an iPod is mobile, a laptop is mobile. Technology is just getting smaller and smaller, and it's being able to be carried around more and more. Another, how is it beneficial to not just the students, just because this is a way that they go through their everyday life using social media apps and Google email and everything's just already there. How is it affecting them beneficially? But how is it beneficially the educators as well? That's kind of what I want to go through. One theory that I kind of looked into with the mobile learning theory is that it is the learner that is mobile, not the technology, which I thought was very interesting, because it really makes sense if you think about it. I have my phone right here and it's mobile, but it doesn't move or do anything unless I make it do it. So that's just kind of one method that I thought was interesting, that somehow I could relate to it. But that's kind of what I got.
Okay. So your thought in this is to evaluate something that's already out there.
It's already out there, and it's more of like going in. Like I said, the studies are out there, but I don't know. I don't know it personally. It's something that I'm really kind of interested in, being that teaching is something that I would, looking forward, I really want to get into. And what kind of, what kind of ways could I implement it? Why would I implement it? And it's more of a, a personal research, but a lot of people may not be knowledgeable about, unless you're specifically an educator.
Well, because the first thing I would really work on is really tightening your focus. This whole idea of how
Oh yeah,
educational technology has benefited students. That's not
that's way out there. Yeah.
yeah, that's like a library in itself. And so you really want a specific technology, a specific age group, maybe even a specific grade, a specific field, discipline, something very, as the more specific, the better.
Right.
You're not gonna, because then you're gonna get better results. Because, if it's just general, then the results are general, and it's like, yeah, I could have told you that anyway. But if
Right.
you look at a specific area, then you may learn something new, in part because no one may have looked at that before. They just, it's a big field. But I would also tighten this even in terms of area. Like, are you looking at this in upstate New York or in a rural area, or and what does that mean? What are the backgrounds of the students? In other words, do they have a lot of parental support or not? Because these issues come up all the time.
Mhm.
You did mention the idea of a quiz ending prematurely, and that's a classic issue. Is this is called the technological divide. That some people have access to technology and some people don't, and how does this handle that? Smartphones isn't, there's something maybe college students have, but does every student have that who's in 8th grade or whatever? So, you need to think about maybe, if they're all given a tablet, that they can use during class, okay, that's your environment, so you need to to think about what you're looking at. So I would almost look at a specific discipline, because those words, main benefits, I think are the key. You need to focus much tighter than that. So you need to to look at a whole possible set of benefits and then just focus on a couple of them. Maybe it's, you look at the beginning of the semester and the middle of the semester, and you compare it with another group, and you see if their grades have gotten better in one versus the other. And so that's a very specific thing that you're studying. 2 classes using different, one's maybe not using technology at all, the other is. Is it really show a difference? So that could be something you could test. It's something you'd probably get an exemption for, although actually it's an issue because of their age. You might want to think about that. If you're going to analyze kids, it gets very tricky. You've got to get parental approvals. And even though it is a classroom situation, there are issues in terms of what you're studying. So I don't know. You may want to just do like we were talking with the other Shannon, is sort of do an analysis of what's out there and what's been found in other studies, and just use that for an initial study. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a lot of research out there. So do you see those issues, Shannon? Why
Yeah.
they hold you up? You don't want to start going into classrooms. We've tried to do that in the past, and it just takes a lot of time. You got to get a lot of approvals. And so it might be better if you just pick something that has been studied. It's sort of what your literature review is going to do, but then sort of take it to another level to really come to terms with what the findings are. In a sense, you need to sort of pull things together to see what's already out there. have to really think about this a bit. It's yeah, I can sort of see how, you're still the mobile learning theory. Where did you learn that? Where did you get exposed to that?
Um,
A class here?
I thought, with everything, I started going based off of different theories. When I started poking around different theories, I really didn't know what kind of theory would really relate to this. Some theory, like affordance theory, satisfactory things like that. And I just started poking around, so I really just kind of stumbled upon it.
So it's not something you've used in the past. It's just one that you found out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you want to use something from the program if you can, that you feel is relevant to what you want to study. There is something called scaffolding, which is where you're sort of making sure that you never cover one thing until you've covered, what comes before it. And it's just this whole idea of going up and never, not just jumping up a couple lengths of ladder or whatever without first covering what comes before it. And I know we've had some students, what you should do is look at other thesis papers that were submitted in the past. I know we've done a few on education. I'd have to think about that, but that might be a start. Let's see, I'm just gonna bring something up here. Recent submissions. Okay, so I'm gonna. Yeah, here's. Let me. If you want to close out your screen for a second. So. I'm going to bring this up. I mean, oh, this is my whole desktop. Let's get this out. Let's get this out. So I just typed, I went to the IDT repository, and you can see all the different types of these choices. So we did do one about an elementary art classroom using video tutorials. So you may want to see what her methodology was. Here's an iPad application. Now these a lot of times were teachers, so they already had the class, and they already had it that they could work with. Oh, Minecraft, yeah, Common Ground. So I would look blogging. Part of this is what you mean by mobile technology, and you can sort of see that they were using, first it's, by that they mean an iPad, by second they're talking about middle school science, and then they're just talking about application development. Let's see, is a frame for it. Okay, so they're using collaboration here, it looks like. But one of the things I was going to say is, when you're looking at these, one thing that's nice, I don't think this is going to be able to show up on your screen. Oh yeah, I guess there's something here, is to sort of see who the faculty have been in the past who've worked on these projects. And that might help because they have a, sort of a shared history on how to do these things. Oh, this actually looks like mine. Yeah, taxonomy. So, yeah, that was actually, so they were using that tool to assess, and as well as human-centered design, which is another thing that was human-centered design, I think goes back to Jacobson, and that's Dr. Lazardi and I generally teach that course. So, so you can see that a lot is in the details, the devil's in the details. You need to sort of see what they were studying. So this is all about tutorials, tutorial development. So that was the focus there, even the type of app, not just the grades or whatever, but also what it tried to do, and which ones were successful. Achieving higher level order. So I would look at these because that'll answer a lot of those questions. I sort of remember Charlene doing this. It's been a while. What is this, 2012? So, and this is, yeah, some of these are, but it's still, the concepts don't change. And the idea of creating a prototype, that's what she did. She actually created a prototype. So she was able to sort of have a little mock-up. Did you use Adobe Muse, Shannon, in 499?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's one possibility. One nice thing about it is you can click on just making it for a smartphone, and it would allow you to make design something for a smartphone. But all I would normally worry about are mock-ups. If you're going to create something, if you're going to study its value, then, which I'm sure was part of all of these, at least you're going to start there in any case, doing a lit review. So I would start with tightening your focus and then doing a lit review on what's already been said about this. That may help you a lot in terms of methodology and what you want to study. Like, oh yeah, that's neat. I can sort of see myself doing that. So,
okay,
it sort of sets you up. I think sort of look, whenever you look at these, you're looking at thesis projects. So they were all doable at the time. So, but you may want to, change. These were years ago, so it's good conceptually, but now you want to tighten it up to. We do have quite a few apps that we've covered over the years too. So let me just see. Yeah. So you can look at that. Apps in education. I don't know about but you can. Well, yeah, active learning is a good one. Oh, I see. They're just. Yeah, they're looking at A's because I had the letter A in there. So you really have to search by subject rather than this collection. So, and sort of see what you get. Because I think part of this is seeing what was accomplished in the past. And, oh yeah, we did a whole thing with Google Glass. Well, we actually created, but Sylvia actually designs these sorts of things for a living for, I think it was at Delhi. And so she created one, Google Glass, for learning. But it was for a specific class. It was
right.
I think it was something to do with gardening. Flowers. And she, you could walk around with these glasses on and actually start a journal and take a quiz about what you're looking at and do different other things, which you could do in an app too. So that's why what you want to study is so important. What made you think of this? Is there a particular class you had in mind, like when you were in school, in high school or something?
The idea that I got behind teaching and just in general, looking at myself as a goal in the future is I went to a middle school, high school where the only type of access I really had to like using software, the Adobe software and things like that was a sports and marketing class one year, and then one of my other keyboarding classes. I didn't really have courses available to me during middle school, high school, that could really get me in gear. You know, when I chose to come to SUNY Poly for communication information design, I really just liked making videos with my friends. That's really how I got into it. And then, you know, I really started to get into the depths of graphic design and, you know, video production and things like that. And it really just kind of sparked my interest of, wow, like I really wished I would have had this accessible to me during that time. So my absolute dream is if I could teach like an 8th grade tech class and introduce kids to this at an earlier age and, you know, keep it going throughout their high school experience. And that way they're able to find their options based in a communications or graphic design field. I would love to do that.
Okay, so what you might think of doing is just creating an app for some aspect of, is this video design you said you were interested in?
Both of the classes that I was exposed to in high school, they touched briefly on Photoshop and they touched briefly on PowerPoint and introducing us to Prezi. So kind of all of that. And then when I came to SUNY Poly, I was able to be exposed to so much more.
Okay. So one reason I'm sort of, and this is good, this is healthy, but is that you might just sort of want to create the mock-ups for an actual application, something on your smartphone that would teach some aspect of graphic design that you feel reasonably comfortable with. It might be something about creating a short little video or creating a website or something that you know how to do now. And you don't have to create a full-blown app. You're just creating a mock-up.
Mm-hmm.
One reason I'm thinking along these lines, Shannon, is it gets you out of IRB issues. You're just designing something. We're not sort of testing it out on, 16-year-old kids. We're not worrying about faculty, teachers, and whether they're going to let you even do it. And that takes a lot of approvals. So you might want to think about, based on these sorts of things you see here, in other words, education theory, active learning theory, human-centered design, a lot of the, there's something called progressive disclosure in universal principles of design that goes in, that a lot of app developers use. I know, I noticed hers down here. There was a one for Utica Comments by Jessica McIntosh, and she used progressive. A lot of students do it. So it sort of talks about, it's almost like scaffolding for an app. It's sort of like you start at the highest level, and you move down to understand something. So at the very basic level, you start at the highest level, and then you move down. So you might want to look at that too. But it's sort of the idea of creating something. And if you want to do it for kids in high school, you need to make sure you include that in your study. Like, how are you going to take into account the needs of, a high school senior or whatever? What do they need to know? What do they have access to? What's their knowledge level? What is it? What don't they know? So you'd have to have some literature about that.
Okay.
What are the needs of high school seniors in a math class or whatever, in a design class who might want to learn. BOCES has all these classes too. And they're actually pretty advanced in some of the BOCES labs, but the idea is that, you might want to think about a group that just is using learning media, and something that you could design a tool for, one, week's worth of classes or something.
Okay.
That's something to think about. But I think you should be okay on that. And in terms of faculty, okay, you don't have advisors yet. Yeah, I'm usually the instructional design kind of contact, so we can work on that. And you might, trying to think who else. I've worked with different faculty. Like if you're doing something with video, Dr. Lizardi would be the person. If you're doing something, so you might want to have someone who's in the specialization that you're interested in focusing on. If you want to do something on game design or that uses games, you might need to talk to Dr. Ucell. He's the man there. Zardy's the video. So make some decisions on that. But the secondary isn't a big deal. We can work on that.
Okay.
Yeah, instructional design. Now, you didn't take any of my, have you taken my instructional design classes? I don't think so.
No.
Get up to speed on that. There is some in the Library of Resources. There's some stuff about instructional design in there. I think even the early of this semester, I gave something out about online learning in $5.99. But yeah, so you may need, but that's part of your lit review. So you may need to sort of do some initial research on instruction.
Okay.
What works and what doesn't. So you can do that. But I think you're okay. Otherwise, I would, just tighten it into as much as possible. And
Right.
the graphic arts might work. And think of the grades. Think of the type of students where it would work, and we should be okay. So I think that's it for tonight. I've got a few people coming up. I see John.